Hello and welcome to LFC Transfer Room. It's Friday, so that means we are going to take a step away from Liverpool a little bit and talk about the other teams in the Premier League, which is why we've got the Premier League room. And the big topic at the moment is Casemiro coming to Manchester United, an expensive 30-year-old flop, or actually everything that they need to fix. We're also going to have a look at a couple of fixtures that mainly impact Liverpool, and then we're going to spin the wheel and see what we're going to close the show on. Owen, how are you today? You've not spun the wheel before. Are you nervous?
Yeah, I'm actually really excited for it. Like, new idea. Well done for coming up with it. And yeah, I'm really excited to see what's going to come of it. But yeah, doing well. Yeah, just been quite quiet at the moment with no football on. But yeah, sooner midweek games come back, I think that's going to be fantastic as well.
Yeah. Drew, have you recovered from your Thiago is the most overrated player in the Liverpool squad statement?
I just say, Owen, you hope you're not first when the wheel spins and lands on you. I did quite well when I was last to speak my piece and got the win with Ronaldo as most overrated Premier League player. But hopefully more of that luck for this spin for me.
This is true. Well, we're going to start off with the main news story. Obviously, it's a Premier League rumour, and we're going to start talking about the Casemiro transfer. I don't think Liverpool haven't made a over 30-year-old signing since Clavan was signed, I think, in 2016. Man City haven't made one since Bakary Sagna in 2014. Is signing a player over 30, Owen, a bad idea?
Not necessarily, I don't think. For United, they want that bit of experience right now. But at the same time, yeah, it's not fantastic. The amount of money they're spending on Casemiro, £60 million. How many years are you going to get out of him? I know when you look at kind of Luka Modric, Toni Kroos, they're going at it now, sort of in the mid-30s. So, yeah, who knows whether Casemiro will be the same or different to that. But yeah, if you're going to be similar, then I think it's a great deal personally. But then at the same time, you have to look at it and think, why is he going to United? And you'd have to put it down to one thing, that would be money.
I mean, I made the jibe on our group chat that, you know, United is a retirement home for the previously gifted footballers. But there are some 30-year-olds out there that, you know, do well. You know, Koulibaly looks to be a really good over 30-year-old. Mane for Bayern Munich looks to be a really good over 30 signing. Lewandowski may be a really good signing for Barcelona. Is this... Are we now pushing the age bracket, Drew? Is it over 33? Is it over 35 where people should be dropping off now?
I think it depends on the player, but I definitely think the fitness behind the game and the medical side, the science side has definitely picked up in the past 5 years. I think that will contribute to players being able to play longer and extending their careers. But that being said, if you have a player like Oxlade-Chamberlain or Naby Keita, who's just injury prone, or some players who just peter out early, I don't think you can tell it on an individual by individual basis. But as a whole, I think the medical side of the game has gotten much better and will show in players in, you know, lengthening their careers more than the past.
Yeah. And there's all sorts of things, you know, Ronaldo's rumored to have a cryo chamber to sort of recover himself after a game and stuff like that. And Owen, do you think, I mean, he's not going to be registered in time for the Liverpool match, but there's a very good chance that they're going to be sat there at the bottom after 3 games. You know, I'm confident in our lads to get the job done. Do you think that is the sort of leader that can sort of bring them out of that relegation battle they're going to be finding themselves in?
I don't really know, if I'm being perfectly honest, because he's always been in the Real Madrid team where there's been world-class players around him, and it will show what he's really made of, whether he is this leader that he's made out to be or what you would thought he would be, or whether he's just sort of another sort of Varane, a player like that, because everyone thought when Varane came in that he'd be step up as a leader and be this guy who would go and change United, and so far he can't even get to the starting 11 so far this season. So yeah, I think only time will tell with Casemiro, and yeah, he's going to have to make a quick impact, I think. Otherwise, United, they're only going to be in more trouble if he has a slow start or picks up an injury. So, yeah, he's going to have to come in straight away, start games and just change something up for United, which, to be fair, a player of his quality should easily come in and just be an improvement on what they've already got, really.
Yeah. Now I'm going to move on from United because I've just had a shower and I don't want to have another one after the stream. So what we are going to eat a bit of humble pie on this one, Drew. Matheus Nunes has just signed for Wolves, and we were all going crazy saying that he should be a really good Liverpool player. Now, I don't know if he'll make his debut against Spurs, 12:30 kickoff tomorrow, but it's a good signing for Wolves. That's a strong midfield. Neves, Nunes, Moutinho, someone else probably now, isn't it? Dendonka. Wolves are looking strong in the middle of the park, aren't they?
Yeah, they have a quality team, and they definitely can offer threat going forward. We know they're solid at the back. They're a solid team, but I think away at Tottenham, while they'll give them a fight, Tottenham's looked pretty good. Although the Chelsea game last weekend, they definitely were the worst side off. But aside from the refs' health, they did pick themselves up and get a result out of that. So I think that shows a bit of grit that. At home, I think Wolves, it might be a little bit too early for them with the pieces coming together a little late with Nunez coming in. It might not be time to throw in a player and expect him to shine. I think Luis Diaz for us was the exception where we threw him in and he had free reign. But I think with our side, you could afford to do that with a winger and see how they cope. But putting someone in the midfield, just throwing them in fresh without really knowing how the team integrates, without really knowing how the player connection. I think that's a really tough ask in such an important part of the field where you don't want to be playing risks where somebody doesn't know the formation or know what to do in certain situations based on team tactics. So I think with that in mind, I'd still say Tottenham squeaked this one out.
Score prediction?
2-0 Tottenham.
No, they got rid of Gibbs White, didn't they? They sold him to Nottingham Forest for a crazy amount of money.
45 million, absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah, Forest have bought 16 players in this window. But do you see, Wolves, I think, are putting together a decent team, but there's no backup striker really in this. Is that where they're lacking? Is that where Spurs are going to catch them? Because they're like a toothless animal, so to speak. Yeah,
they're a bit like Brighton, aren't they? Brighton, another team like that, where for years now they've been playing good football. Can be a really good footballing team, but just that kind of force up top. Yeah, Jimenez, he's been fantastic since they've come out to the Premier League, but since he picked up that injury, I say, but absolutely horrible head injury, skull fracture even. So it's not a surprise that he's not kind of made a fantastic comeback, and he just hasn't been able to provide the goals that they need from a number 9. So then they've had Wang Yi-chan, who's come from RB Salzburg. In his loan spell, he did all right, but then when they made it permanent, he stopped scoring all the goals. So it's a bit typical there. But I think Wolves definitely lack that kind of go-to point. Obviously, I lost Jota as well to Liverpool going back a couple of years. Adama Traore, even though he's still employed by them, he's gone to Barcelona. Wait, where is he now? Adama Traore,
he's back, isn't he? He's back. He's meant to be back. He's back in Wolves. From sunny Barcelona to Wolverhampton.
Oh, yeah. Terrible.
He's toothless again. He's a toothless winger, isn't he? He's not. He doesn't score the goals.
So he didn't start last game. Yeah, he was on the bench. Oh, he came on. So they got Adama Traore back. But I don't think he's going to make a huge difference. He's not really a game changer anymore.
Looking at the fixtures, looking at this weekend's fixtures, Drew, I'm trying to pick a game. I always try and pick a game that I'm really excited to watch, and it seems pretty obvious this week, doesn't it? In terms of you can pretty much guess most teams and who'd win what. I think the one where I don't know who's going to win is the Palace versus Villa game, which I know is the Stevie G game again, but it's a really tricky game, that one, because I think they're both going to finish there and thereabouts.
Yeah, I normally would say it'd be a lot closer, but I think Palace have started really well or looked really well. I know they lost to Arsenal on the first day, but I was watching that game and I thought they played extremely well, and Arsenal got a bit lucky to nick the result as the way they did. Then credit to Arsenal for getting it over the line. But as we saw, last Monday, Palace have a game plan. Vieira has them playing well organized, and they have players like Eze and Zaha, if they show up on their day, are extremely talented players and can cause a lot of problems. So I think for them being at home with Stevie G, I think Gerrard's pretty good at creating some attractive football. Like I saw them, their game on the weekend, and they look good. They just about held it over the line, although Dinga let in an own goal late on, which killed my fantasy team pretty early on. But I think that's always there. Yeah, seriously. I need to just start picking all Man City players, all the players around Liverpool, because they all just tank when I put them in the side. But anyway, I think like Aston Villa have that kind of Achilles heel where defensively they're liable to let in like a goal. And I think with players like, again, Eze, Zaha, even Ayew, like they can get at Villa's defense. I think the fact with the whole issues around Tyrone Mings, I don't think he's a good center back, but he was back in the squad last weekend, and arguments up there to whether that's justified or not. But I think Crystal Palace at home, traveling Villa, it's going to be tough for Steven Gerrard to get a result.
For me, Owen, Crystal Palace have a couple of players that I think are top 4 potential. One being Joachim Anderson, because obviously against Liverpool, he wound Nunes up to nothing. And against Arsenal, he was pinging 40-yard passes to the wingers and getting in behind and was demonstrating that sort of control of play. And the other one was Eze for me, who I thought was unbelievable against us. I thought he had a great game, and I know he's coming back from serious injury, so he could come through. Is there anyone really in the Villa team or the Palace team that you think is coming through to that top 4 level, or do you disagree with my picks?
Anderson, I think he's kind of, you look at all the top 6 teams now though, and maybe exclude United because a lot of top quality players get into United, so exclude them. And then you look at, Arsenal now, they're looking a lot better. Tottenham, they've got a very nice team. Man City and Liverpool, they're the top teams, you'd say. And then Chelsea. So I wouldn't really put Anderson necessarily into any of those teams. I don't think he would get into starting 11 of them. And then Eze, he's another young player, isn't he? So potentially for the future, but not at this current moment. And then you look at Villa, I'm just looking for a team now. Martinez, I think he's a very good goalkeeper. But then is he better than Lloris? Is he better than Ramsdale at Arsenal? Wouldn't say so, in my opinion.
Lloris needs to replace soon, though, doesn't he? Lloris is creaking now, I reckon.
Yeah, maybe, to be fair.
Diego Carlos,
De Gea, that goes without saying. De Gea is one of the worst keepers in the league, in my opinion. His distribution is just it is horrendous. Like, no keeper has worse distribution than David De Gea. And then he's not even a good shot stopper anymore. So it's like, but he's undroppable though, David De Gea is, because of the wage he's earning. He's earning like 375k per week. So United just can't drop him. But getting back to Villa, Diego Carlos, he picked up a really horrible injury last game. That's a massive shame, isn't it? It is, because they're losing him, and then they drop Konza, but now they have to bring him back in. So they got Konza and Mings like last season. It's not ideal for them at all. Matty Cash, though, he's another player. I think potentially maybe at like an Arsenal, he could get in the team.
It'd be a good right back for them.
Sorry?
It'd be a good right back for them, to be fair.
Yeah, Tomiyasu's not brilliant. John McGinn. Do any of you think John McGinn can get into like a top 6 side?
Not a chance. I'd rather have Eze playing in central midfield.
Really?
I think he's more dynamic.
He has a Stevie G approval, though, John McGinn. Sure, he has something.
He's got a lot of heart, a lot of energy. He runs, and he's got a decent left foot. But I don't know. It kind of reminds me of Charlie Adams, big fish, small pond.
Matty on saying John McGinn is boss. I like the guy. I just don't think he's. I think he's good. He's average. He reminds me of Granit Xhaka. He's all right at a few things, and there's nothing he's exceptional at.
That is harsh, that though. Granit Xhaka.
I'm not saying he's as bad as Granit Xhaka, but he reminds me of him.
At least John McGinn has a bit of heart, though. He has a bit of passion, you know. Does Granit Xhaka have that?
Yeah, when he fell out with the fans, he showed a bit of passion there, you know, when he flipped them all off.
Is it? He was arguing with his own fan base.
He's got like 6 red cards, so some could say that's passion.
Yeah. Exactly. But no, this is the thing. I don't think there's many of the players that you could say are. Maybe Ramsey's got the potential to come through into the top, into a top 16. But I know Matty Orms will say that Coutinho could play in the top 6 now because he believes he should be in the Liverpool team now. But you're not here to defend yourself, so Owen can shake his head, and we'll all agree with him.
Yeah, it's.
I back you, Matty.
No,
I back you, Matty.
It's 5 years ago now, and he's done nothing since to be fair, 4 years ago, 2018 January. So, yeah, he hasn't done anything since he left. To be fair, he was all right in his buying spell on loan, but yeah, at Barcelona he's done nothing. Villa last season, I didn't think he was even that good. He had a few decent games, a few games where he was like had a good sort of assist or just his all-round touch and play. It's just always going to be good because he's Coutinho ultimately. But that doesn't really mean anything now, unfortunately. And I think at 30, he is a bit past it.
See, this is where a 30-year-old might be a bad transfer then. We're going to look at one more game before we spin the wheel. And we're going to look at the Newcastle Man City game. Obviously, St. James's is jumping every week. They're excited. They're happy. It's great place to be at the moment. Can they help us bridge the gap and do something against this Man City team? Or do you think Newcastle haven't really built their team up strong enough yet to compete with the Man City, Drew?
I think they'll definitely give them a challenge, but I think this is a game where Haaland comes in and really shows his worth. I think, Newcastle could potentially bully Man City or try to get very physical, but I think that will be a game where you'll see Haaland like really take what those, flip it on the head and turn around those kind of games. Because I think Man City doesn't have a very physical offense, and they're very quick, intricate, but when teams bully them, unless they can play around them, they can't really combat with them one-on-one in terms of physicality. But with a player like Haaland, now Newcastle has to worry about that and the intricate play. So I think it might be a bit too soon to expect anything like an upset, maybe a close game, but I think Man City have all the right tools to take Newcastle down over 90 minutes.
I kind of like how Newcastle midfield's coming together. It's almost Joe Linton's just a powerhouse box-to-box player. He's big, he's powerful. A player like Bernardo Silva just bounce off him trying to tackle him. Bruno Guimaraes, I think we all agree, is a sensational player. St. Maximin, there's a good chance they could get a few goals here on the break. They've got St. James's behind them. It's an intimidating atmosphere. They're all throwing the 50s around because they're rich. Are you of the same opinion as Drew?
I think it depends on the early goal. If Man City get that early goal, then it's over, really, because City is so good at suffocating teams once they get that goal, because teams will come out, and then that just plays to Pep Guardiola's advantage. So I think if they can go in like 20, 25 minutes and still be in the game, still 0-0, then I think they do stand a chance, because St. James's Park now, since that takeover, it's been absolutely buzzing, as you said before. So yeah, I think just getting through that early period of the game, then yeah, who knows what could happen. Newcastle could definitely get a goal, because now they've got these game changers in their side who can go and capitalise, like Callum Wilson, St. Maximin still, Bruno Guimaraes as well. Fantastic player, really, really like him. So yeah, be an interesting one to see for sure. Away as well. So yeah, good watch that.
They've been clever with the signings, Newcastle. They haven't gone crazy. They haven't done the throw all the money at the wall. Some of the signings have been clever, and they've got the best out of the players around. You think of Trippier and Shah, that gives them an opportunity to set off St. Maximum, and Bruno Guimaraes, they integrated him slowly. They brought in Sven Botman, who's a future centre-back leader for them. Nick Pope, a bit of leadership at the back. Drew, where do you think Newcastle are going to finish this year? Do you think they can push into the top 8?
Maybe not the top 8, but thereabouts. Like, I think a top table finish for them, or top half of the table finish for them, would be a good achievement, pushing sort of those European spots. They might be, a bit too far from that, but I think that's Well, who knows if Man United drop out and don't do anything to fix that? That opens up a spot. But I think the top 6 are pretty much, written in stone at this point, and those 7th, 8th spots are going to be challenged. And maybe it's Newcastle's time to take it. I think if all the pieces land correctly, they can snip in there, but it might just be one season too soon. But I expect them to have a lot of good games and upset some teams in the latter half of the season. It's exciting what they're building.
There's about 20 days to go till the transfer window shuts. Where do you think Newcastle should be looking to spend their money, Drew? Their infinite pockets of money. Do you think they should gate crash Casemiro?
That'd be funny. I mean, I don't know who's out on the market, but I'd be curious to get like a striker in for them. Like somebody who could guarantee goals. So it would have been interesting if they like snuck up someone like Timo Werner. I know that was a brief flash in the pan there, but I think if they could bring in somebody, a high caliber striker, that could potentially push them into those European places.
It's a striker for me, Owen. I keep thinking, well, why don't they just put money on the table and get Ivan Toney and go for him? Do you agree? Is that where you think Newcastle need to strengthen, or are you a different department?
When you look at how they've lined up in the last game against Brighton, they play a 4-3-3, so kind of a different system, if you like, with the wingers as well. You got to remember. So you got Alex Saint-Maximin on the left, you got Callum Wilson at central, and then on the right you've got Miguel Almiron, who I don't particularly rate. So I think a right winger would be absolutely fantastic for Newcastle. But when you look at the market, who's really available at right wing, there is a shortage, and off the top of my head I can't really think of many. So yeah, I'm gonna have to put that one back to you guys. Who would be a good right winger at Newcastle?
It's a good question, isn't it?
Who would go well with Wilson and Saint-Maximin?
In the chat, if you can think of any really good right wingers that would be available in the market, that'd be great for Newcastle, because that's a great question. I don't think there's many, but Almiron was the top scorer for Newcastle in pre-season. I snuck him in my fantasy Premier League team as a cheeky wildcard, thinking he was going to bring it into the season. He didn't bring it into the season. I think he got 5 goals and 2 assists and was by far their leading scorer. It just didn't happen like that. I haven't kicked him out yet, but danger circling for him. Big performance needed against Man City. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Owen, you have a Moussa Diaby. There's a cracking shout from Peter. He'd be perfect for Newcastle.
Yeah, that would definitely be a good signing for Newcastle, having the pace. And yeah, they just don't really have that sort of Almiron. You wouldn't call him a natural right winger, in my opinion. I think he's more of kind of like a Dele Alli second striker sort of player, where maybe he doesn't really have a designated position. But yeah, getting Moussa Diaby in, a player who Liverpool have been linked with in the past, actually. Great signing for Newcastle would be, for sure.
We're not going to touch on Dele Alli, but my God. Turkey. Wow. For those of you that have joined us for the first time on Friday we do something a little bit different to close off the stream. We have a wheel. And here is the wheel. We spin the wheel, and that will tell us the subject. Whatever the subject is, these guys are going to have to give their opinion, and you in the chat are going to have to decide whose opinion is right. Just to give you a bit of history, last week, Drew said Thiago is the most overrated Liverpool player because it landed on overrated.
Context is important, James. Context is important.
It's not. Context is not important in this. Because, it's a good summary. So we're going to spin the wheel. It's going to come up, and then we're just going to have a chat, and we're going to see who the chat thinks is right. Ready? Oh, it's on the screen.
I'm nervous,
One tears of J. Tears of J.
Unpopular opinion. Bottom half of the table. Okay, so what we're going to be asking you, if I can get my mouse back because it's on my third screen and everything's chaotic. There. Right. Unpopular opinion and the bottom half of the table. So, what the question is for you is, who do you think is going to finish in the bottom half of the table that shouldn't? And why do you think they're going to finish there? And it can't just be an obvious opinion like it's Man United because they're shit. It has to be an unpopular opinion. So have a think about who you think is going to land there, why you think it's going to land there. Put a bit of a pitch together as to why you think they're going to land there, because we're going to ask the chat who's got the best unpopular opinion about who's going to finish in the bottom half of the Premier League. So think about the people that are normally in the top half of the league. You've got your Liverpools, you've got your Man Cities, Arsenal, they've got Jesus, Tottenham. Are they going to implode with Conte? You've got Man United, who finished in the top half last season. You've got Leicester with all the changes that they're the ones that are going to implode. Brendan Rodgers get fired, or is Brendan Rodgers going to do something spectacular? Villa should be top half. Newcastle were top half last season. So in terms of the bottom half teams, what is your unpopular opinion? And who's going to finish there? Drew? I'm not going to start with
first. Well, thank you.
I'm going to let Owen go first.
Right. Okay. For me, it's between two teams. So I presume not to say the other team. I'll go with the one that I'm going to say. And I'm going to say Aston Villa with Steven Gerrard. I think a lot of people backing them to go and finish in the top half of the table. But unfortunately, I've just got a funny feeling that things are going to take a turn for the worst for Villa, and it could result in Gerrard getting sacked. And then I think, Villa might just have a really not very nice season. See Carlos as well at centre half. He's ruled out now for quite a long time, a few months, or that's kind of minimum. So, having Mings and Konsa at centre half, they're not going to be a huge threat going forward, I don't think. You have got Danny Ings and Ollie Watkins, two quite good strikers, but at the same time, the system they have to play to fit them both in is not ideal. It's not ideal at all. Coutinho as well picked up an injury at the weekend. So, I just don't think they have the depth and all the squad to go and do one better than last year.
So your unpopular opinion is that Villa don't have the team to finish in the top half of the league. And mainly because of Diego Carlos is a sensible choice. Now, Drew, we'll come to you. You can't pick Villa. This is the disadvantage of going second. Other people get to put their opinions first. What is your unpopular opinion for who's going to finish in the bottom half of the Premier League? And why?
I mean, for unpopular opinion, I'll go with Manchester United. I think realistically the surprise would be Leicester City. But I think unpopular opinion, Manchester United. I think early signs are, no wins in 2 games. You're coming up against Liverpool. You have the fans protesting against the game, talk of the game being canceled potentially or postponed already. Club's in absolute shambles. They're getting linked with players like it's bingo trying to get whoever the marker will land on. It just really doesn't look good for the club unless there's the takeover, unless that happens, or Ten Hag somehow clears out the toxicity in the remaining days of the transfer window. I can't see them getting any sort of team together on the field, team unity. Like you hear all the time in news about the cliques. Like I think Ronaldo leaving at halftime in the preseason game, and not just him. You had guys like Dalot follow him. Like it just bodes of toxicity. And if they can't sort that out in the next week, before the window closes, or they don't get taken over, Ten Hag's going to have an immensely tough job to get anything out of this season. And you just look when you're getting performances like 4-0 against Brentford. It's like if a team like Brentford can outplay you and just wants it more than you, they're not going to be the only team that's looking at Man U as an easy target. So I think at the end of the day, that can be a team that just falls into the bottom half of the table.
That's not unpopular, surely.
I mean, bottom half for United, it's got to be quite unpopular that a manager can implode due to all the things. And United finish in the bottom half is probably, if you ask people to pick the Premier League, would United be bottom half in most people's? Only in Matty's. Matty had put them bottom.
He would. And Liverpool to quadruple alongside it.
Yeah. But we've launched it as a poll. So who do you think's unpopular opinion for finishing in the bottom half is going to be? You know, do you agree with Owen or do you agree with Drew? Owen, from a Villa perspective, I think, you know, just to sort of dig into your unpopular opinion, I think they wanted to change the centre-backs. Obviously, they brought in Carlos. They've still got Boubacar Kamara, who JK picked as his most potentially, you know, signing of the season. But Ings had a bad year last year, didn't he, as well? Watkins didn't start the other game, and then he was running the channels. There just seems to be a lack of cohesion there at the moment, doesn't there?
Yeah, it feels like so many things are going on. You've got Coutinho, you've got Ramsey, two attacking midfielders. You've got loads of strikers, not really kind of... Well, you've got the wingers, to be fair, Leon Bailey and Traore. But yeah, it just kind of feels like Gerrard doesn't really know what his best team is still. And that's... Now he's been coming up to a year. It's a bit of a worry, in my opinion, when a manager doesn't know what his best team is. You've seen it with United before, with Rangnick and Ole. So, yeah, I don't think it's going in a very good direction at this moment in time. But yeah, they can still prove us wrong. There's still time in the transfer window for them to go and strengthen further. But it looks like they've kind of done their business early, kind of just gone to pre-season and tried to hope and rebuild from there. And I thought going into this season, give Steven Gerrard a second chance. Maybe he could turn things around. Well, not turn things around because nothing's really gone horrifically wrong as of yet. But it was going in sort of a downward direction. And yeah, now it kind of seems it hasn't really. And yeah, it's 2 games in, to be fair. So maybe I'm being a bit too harsh, but I just got a bad feeling about them for some reason.
I'm kind of with you. I think something's not right. And I mean, mine would have been Leicester. I think Leicester could actually be fighting relegation this season. I think they'll get rid of Rodgers, bring in the wrong manager, not be able to reinforce because of financial problems, and I think they could be in a real bad bottom half situation, Leicester, for me. Having said that, if Rodgers pulls off a masterstroke, there might be, you know, he is a good manager, and I think that's experience, and it's something that Gerrard's lacking. But also Ten Hag's lacking, isn't he, Drew? In if you think about it, he's not experienced in the Premier League. He doesn't know. You know, he bought a 5'9" centre-back who got dominated by Ben Mee. Ben Mee scored a goal in the Premier League. So maybe you're right there. Maybe there's a lack of understanding in the United dressing room, which is why they might finish in the bottom half.
Yeah, it's like he did well in the Eredivisie, like the Dutch league, and he did well in Champions League. He knocked out some big sides, but that's with an Ajax team he had full control over. He had years to develop them. You know, it was his team, and now he's coming into a United squad where he doesn't have a fresh start. Like United are in a mess, and for him to really have time to establish his own team is like his own style. You're reading that players are already like, hey man, we don't like your style. Maybe we should try something else. 2 games into the season. It's like he has an immense task to fix this. And like, did they pick the right man for the job? I think that's the question. I think maybe like an Arsenal could have picked someone like him, a little bit easier task or like a carryover, but to like the absolute mess that Manchester United is in, asking someone to come in and fix that. He, like, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of Rodgers when we signed Rodgers. Like, he had a lot of great ideas, but ultimately he just fell short. And I think United are in extremely worse position than we were when we were at our worst. So asking someone to come in, young manager, to do a job like that when the players arguably have, you know, I can't see him. Like you see it in the past, if Ronaldo and players are going against managers like or not Ronaldo, but like when Pogba headed up against Mourinho, you know, when like there's a history of the players turning against the managers. When you have someone like Ten Hag who can't even fall back on his resume, and you're looking at decisions like you said, Martinez, like 5'9" center back in the Premier League, maybe that gets you by in the Dutch league, but in the Premier League, you're going to have like everyone's targeting him. So I think it's just under the microscope. Every single decision that he makes, he's already getting questions. I think I saw on Sky Sports, it was like Carragher and Neville, questioning him about his start to the season. We're 2 games into the season, and he's already having to answer about United State like he's the one responsible for it all. And it's all on his shoulders to fix it. So I think all of that pressure can just lead to an implosion.
Now, while people still have the vote, Drew, you're currently ahead 67%. Owen, you've got 33 in terms of who you think is going to finish in the bottom half.
Because people hate United in this channel, of course. And I think there's a bit of bias going on here. I just think
there's politics in here, Owen. You gotta learn to play the game.
There's something that's been said in chat that I really want to get your reaction to, guys, because I'm not going to respond to it, but Owen, I'm going to let you respond to it first. Klopp out if we draw. Midfield is beyond embarrassing at this point. West Ham releases Noble, City Fernan, while we keep Dross. Owen, what do you think to that?
Where do you start? Like, is it Klopp's fault that we haven't signed a midfielder? If you believe that, then it's your opinion. You're inclined to think that, but yeah, it's just very reactionary, isn't it? I think before the first game of the season, everyone was buzzing. Everyone was thinking, yeah, we're going to go and have a good season. We've had loads of injuries. I'm not totally defending Klopp. I think he has done some things wrong this season. I think team selections he hasn't necessarily always got right. But yeah, calling for Klopp to go out is just a bit. I'm trying to find the word for it, really. Ridiculous. It's like, yeah, he's been absolutely phenomenal for us over the last 6 years. So yeah, to call for him just to go out now after 2 games, we nearly won the quadruple last season. So yeah, we won 2 trophies, a point off the Premier League title, and last game of the season, unfortunately, couldn't get the Champions League. So yeah, if we won quadruple, would everyone be saying our midfield was terrible? Still, even if we drew the 2 games, I don't think they would. So yeah, John Henderson's an absolutely unbelievable captain, an unbelievable servant for the club, and everyone seems to be turning on him now. It's like everyone's looking for this scapegoat to go to, and yet ultimately, sometimes you have to look at it and think maybe there isn't just one problem. Maybe there are numerous people underperforming in the team.
I said it on another chat, Drew. I think when I was doing a watch along, which is Liverpool fans need to stop acting like spoiled little brats. We have no right to have this manager, this team, this setup. If anyone's watched it for long enough, they will know that this is the best team that we've ever put together. So for people calling for managers to be out because 2 draws when we got into every final last year, it just shows of absolute spoilt bratishness, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's natural to be frustrated. 2 draws at the start of the season, especially when we had to basically climb to fight to the title for the last half of the season and fell just short by a point. You're looking at these games as points dropped already in games that we should be winning. So it's understandable about the frustration, but to have the reaction, especially right after the games, like, when you go on Twitter to vent your frustration, those are the times where you just kind of like, you got to process those emotions and then realize if we beat Man United 5-0 again at Old Trafford, are you going to be calling for Klopp out? You guys have said it, Owen touched base on, and we're fighting for every competition last season. We're, also taking mind for this season, we have 10 first team players injured. Like, it's not the ideal lineup. Like we started with Milner in the midfield with Elliott and Fabinho. And while I rate them, it's like, would they start a normal game? Obviously, Thiago would be in there. I think Elliott would do much better with that. But, Nunez too with the red card. First game of the season. It's, started slow, team selection maybe. But you're talking with the guy who's taken us to win our first Premier League in 30 years, Champions League. He's won every single trophy that you can win at Liverpool. So I understand the frustration, but if, as James said, if you're old enough or have been following the team enough, just think of if we had Roy Hodgson back or the Roy Hodgson years.
Oh,
Like waking up for 4:30 for Fulham on the first game of the season. Yeah, I was frustrated with the draw, but I remember many times waking up for 4:30 with Roy Hodgson, and I think we lost like 4-0 to Tottenham. It was miserable. So
Joe Cole Joe Cole.
Yeah, you gotta take it in perspective. Like frustration's understandable, but having I think Owen said being reactionary, you gotta let that sit and process before you make statements like that.
So we've got a United fan joined us saying Casemiro destroyed Liverpool, and I think it's probably fair he did in the Champions League final. Created a lot of chaos, and he believes Casemiro is the world's best CDM. Question for you both. Top 3 in the world defensive midfielders. Who are your top 3? Now, for me, I think you've got 2 types of defensive midfielders. You've got your ball-playing defensive midfielders, your people who get the play going, move the ball around like your Rodris and people like that. And then you've got your destroyer defensive midfielders like your Kantes, your Casemiros, your Fabinhos. So this could come down to personal preference or anything like that. But who are we thinking is in the top 3 defensive midfielders?
I think I'll throw out a shout for Kimmich in there.
Big fan of Kimmich.
Yeah. Excellent player.
Don't know if he's still got it, but Sergio Busquets is often overlooked as one of the absolute top.
Yeah, his best. I 100% agree with you, James.
Kante's not my top 15.
Sorry?
Kante's not my top 15.
Not anymore, but he was.
Yeah.
I think he was right at the top at one point.
Won the league with Leicester, Owen, Chelsea Champions League.
Yeah, impressive. Maybe for that season when he was 16, 17, when he won it at Chelsea, maybe that season. But apart from that, I probably wouldn't put him in top 15.
Okay, so top 3, I like I said, I don't think Busquets is necessarily the same player anymore. I think he's on his decline. I agree with Kimmich. Probably put Rodri in there for me. I think he's probably top 3. And then I do think it probably comes down to Casemiro. I think he probably is at this moment in time. I can't think of a better third.
Okay. Casemiro or Fabinho, but Casemiro, arguably, he definitely has the better CV.
Frankie de Jong, is he not counted as a defensive midfielder?
He's not top 3.
Not top 3. Not with what Barcelona did last year. Who's that? Bayern's is Kimmich.
Got to give a shout for Fabinho and Jordan Henderson, even if he's counted as a defensive midfielder.
I think he needs to be a defensive midfielder now, Henderson. But I think, I think probably Fernandez Magnifico. You're right. I think Casemiro is arguably within the top 3. I wouldn't put him at number 1. I think I'm agreeing with the guys that Kimmich is my favourite because I think he does everything really well. But yeah, there's not many coming through either, is there?
Too many. Could he count as a defensive midfielder?
Well, I don't know if he's there yet. I think he's going to be like Camavinga's going to be, isn't he? I think they're probably the ones that are going to dominate. Oh, where's Drew gone?
Just heard your opinions. Thought that's it. I'm not staying any longer.
Yeah, Drew's done. Drew's out. Drew's like, how dare you? But yeah, this has been LFC Transfer Room. This has been our Premier League review. We've spun the wheel, and Drew has come out on top as to who we think will finish in the bottom half of the league in unpopular opinions. Thank you, everyone. Sorry?
No forfeit.
No, there's no forfeit.
Fantastic.
We'll come up with you can have a forfeit if you want one.
Maybe going forward, there maybe needs to be. I wouldn't say this week, but with weeks to come, why not a forfeit?
I tell you what, let's have a thinking chat. You know, if you want someone to have a forfeit for losing the spin of the wheel, what sort of forfeit do you want? Put it in chat. But thank you to everyone who has joined us today. Shay, no, I don't think Klopp is a yes man. I think he's his own man with his own brain. We will catch you on the next one. Have a great weekend. I hope your team does well. We play on Monday.